Hello, I'm Kristen. I've been a police wife for almost 10 years this May, and I am coming with you today with a video on what to do or how to respond when you are a police girlfriend or police wife and the world hates your husband or your boyfriend, when there's just so much police hate out there. And to be honest, 2 years ago with the heightened BLM time, that is actually was really hard on me. I had already been a police wife for a while, but that was like a new difficulty that I hadn't really faced, and that is what made me start my Instagram page, which I'd love you to follow me there and be a part of my amazing community of police wives and girlfriends. And that's when I started all this, Heels and Holsters. So it inspired this good thing, even though it has really been hard, and I made a lot of changes to address that. So I'm really excited to get started and tell you all the tips I have today. So let's get started. The first one is a big change that I made, which is to turn off the news, okay? This can be hard if like you have a routine. I had a daily routine, even when I was younger, to like watch the news in the morning. And now that I think we stopped getting cable like around a couple years ago and just use like Netflix and the apps and stuff. And during that time, I would just like look on my phone or open like a news app on our TV. And especially during like the riots and stuff, my husband's a cop in LA, so Los Angeles, so there was a lot going on. And so at night, after our kids would go to sleep, if he was working at night, I would go on and kind of watch the news. And obviously like nothing ever good came of that, because there was like negative portrayal of officers or like I would see violence. Sometimes it created good conversations for me to like ask my husband the next day, or when he had a moment, like what actually happened and was he a part of that and stuff like that. But speaking of which, I have videos on like how to support your husband or a boyfriend with PTSD or trauma. I will link that below. And then loss of a fellow officer, I'll link that below as well. Those are videos that I feel like when people watch them, they are really helpful. So that's a good resource. So kind of stop consuming the news. This is something that really helped me. I know that it's hard. I know that we kind of need to know somewhat what's going on. Maybe you can find a source of news. Maybe you need to know what's going on locally. Here, for example, it's like raining really hard today. I check my weather app to see what's going on. And I think there might be times where you need to like peek at it, see what's going on in the world or locally for you, or maybe you can find a local station that just gives you the gist in like 15 minutes, or an app on your phone. But it really helps to kind of block that negativity out. And I am on this kick in 2023 to stop supporting businesses that talk bad about my husband and that are not supportive of my family, and media and news are included in that. So that it really helps your mental health. Just live in your happy little bubble. People survived before we had this much news. Like people still lived their lives. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I think we need to know in some normal little things here and there, if there's a car accident on a certain road, or you can learn that in the Maps app on your phone, or how the weather is or whatever, you can learn that on the weather app. So I think there's other ways to get information besides these media apps that are just continuously putting out negative things about our families. So that is the first thing that I have for you. The second one is that I use this phrase, create places and spaces that are safe for you. So for us as a family, because we have two boys who are ages 5 and 7, and Maverick, our oldest, started kindergarten like right during that heightened BLM, heightened police hate time, and we live in Southern California, very liberal, very much so, like pro BLM majority. And so it was important for us to find a place where we felt like he could safely go to school and feel like he's not going to face anything negative. And I'm asked this on my Instagram page by fellow police wives and girlfriends, like how we deal with that. Like, do we tell him and our kids like what their dad does? And we totally do. I'm very open about their dad being a police officer. In fact, Maverick wants to be a police officer. So the way that we can do that is by creating these safe places and spaces for our family to go. So school is a big one, and in addition, just having friends, family, people in our lives that are supportive of police, or at least just not going to talk bad about them. I don't care if you're like an advocate for them, but if you're not going to talk bad about them, then that is amazing, so that our boys can just live freely and not kind of worry about that. So school is a big one. So our boys do go to private school that we found that like we were open about Rick being in law enforcement when we interviewed there, and the director told us that there was a lot of other law enforcement fire, and it's just amazing to kind of be a part of a school that was supportive on that, and then consistent with our Christian values and other values as a family. And in addition, just the other places and spaces are even like our boys' activities that they go to. I have found that like jujitsu is generally a really safe place, because a lot of law enforcement officers do that and their kids. So generally like jujitsu gyms are really safe places that are like so supportive, and it's such a difference between that and other like parks and rec type activity things that our boys have done, where I've received like observed negative comments or concerns about my husband's concealed weapon, things like that I've talked about before. So it's just such like night and day that at jujitsu, there's like people telling us like, thank you for what your husband does, versus like at other activities where we've had negative comments. So I feel like it's taken us time, but we've found safe places and spaces. Maverick is really into skateboarding. Skateboarding tends to be kind of a liberal thing, so I've never seen a negative comment or anything like that at any of his skateboarding classes or like places that we go. But if we ever face that, you know, I will make another video and I'll talk to you guys about that, or I send out also weekly emails that are weekly police wife devotionals that would definitely be relevant to girlfriends as well, where I talk about real world stories, things that are happening in my life right now or in the past, and I include a Bible verse and kind of like a lesson from it and a prayer. And I hope you will sign up for my email list. I send those out on Fridays, every Friday. I haven't missed a Friday in a while. I love sending those and just connecting with you guys every week in that way as well. So I tend to send those a little bit more immediately on like something that happened recently. So I keep it real there, I feel like, with my email subscribers, and love that. So I will link that below, and you can sign up if you're interested in getting weekly kind of tips from me and real world stories. And I feel like I call them like the untold devotionals, because I have my book where I told 42 stories of our police dating and marriage life. And so those stories, I kind of mimic the style of the devotional, and then I send out a weekly email that's new stories that are untold from that book. So the last thing that I want to talk about in this kind of safe places and spaces topic is that sometimes we cannot control the spaces and places. So where I work for a state university. It tends to be pretty like liberal, and there's a lot of discussion of police hate and no acknowledgement of gratitude whatsoever in the majority, and I would say among the leadership. But among like the peers that I am able to interact with on a regular basis, like you can kind of choose people that you spend more time with as a professor, and so I choose to spend time with people that are aligned with my values and that I feel safe with, right? So even if you work somewhere, as long as it's not like bombarding you constantly with that negativity, and mine isn't, not right now, it was during 2020, 2021, but not anymore. And so I'm able to kind of create my own little safe bubble of safe space there even, and just kind of choose to work more closely with people that support my family and that I wouldn't feel like negative around. So you can choose that. And so this brings me to the next thing, which is to distance yourself from people or places or spaces that you do get this police hate from. And sometimes I know that is family. So we have been there during 2020, 2021. I know there was like a lot of tension with family, just with police and other health issues and differences in opinions. And it's okay to, if someone, a friend or a family member or an acquaintance is making you feel or like questioning your police husband or boyfriend, it's okay to take some time away from them or spend less time with them. It's okay to do that. You have to take care of your health. I have found like that is so powerful. And also social media, right? You don't have to follow accounts. You can unfollow accounts. You can unfriend people. And they're not even going to know, maybe. So you can do those things. It's your life and you need to take control of it. And if this person, if you're dating a cop or you have a police boyfriend or police husband, you have to have their back. You know, I think in my last video, I talked about that, what a cop is looking for in a relationship. And that is so important, right? That we support them. We've got their back because the world doesn't, and they deal with that all day. And so in our home, like we create a safe place for Rick to come home to. And that means having boundaries with anyone that is going to talk negatively or be negative. Like we kind of like, our house is not perfect. My boys woke up this morning and were like grumpkins because they went to bed a half an hour later than usual. Like that's how routine we are. But it's not always perfectly peaceful, but whatever I can control, I definitely will to make sure that it is peaceful. So I hope that these ideas were helpful for you. And if you are experiencing some hate out there or negativity, then these gave you some ideas and maybe just some empowerment to feel like it's okay to give some space from that place or that person, and find safe places that you feel like you will be supported. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope that you will follow me over on Instagram and join my wonderful community there of supportive people. You can ask me questions and I will post them even on my stories, and other people contribute besides me. So it's like a whole community of people supporting you, and I absolutely love that. I hope that you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.